Yang ji chimbo zo dan ying mi yang zon ni molam chimbo ngab ja da bakar tar ngang san tu hirma do tumba tuk je chan la kyu kya tsar sho man chu je yang ji po zha na di sum san ji gen jing o nye rang sum chur kung on sum tsa we la ma nam la ngu kya tsar. Good morning. Thank you for coming. First of all, I give you the written transmission. This prayer, Samantabhadра's prayer. This is very famous prayer. I received a transmission from many times, different my teachers from, So, and today we're going to teach on this prayer, but just to let you know, I can't finish today. Maybe just half, and then rest of the prayer we'll finish other Sundays teaching. We have 4 Sundays teaching here, so I will, otherwise today I can't finish, I'm sorry. Just let you know that. Now, the transmission. So, there is the written transmission whenever you want to say this prayer. Now you have permission. And in Tibetan, the short title of this prayer, we say the Prayer of Samantabhadra. And the prayer is in Tibetan, Monlam. Monlam, it means like wish or great aspiration or power for hope, Monlam means prayer. And according to Buddhist philosophy, prayer is nothing other than our intention or motivation. It's so important, that's why whenever you listen to teaching or you meditate or whatever, I always remind you that, correct your motivation. Right meditation or wrong, it depends on your motivation or your intention. So that's why this prayer is actually about intention. So we have many intentions, and in this case, we have aspiration to make something great. We aspire to actualize our realization without sort of being disturbed by duality conception. So in order to make aspiration, we have to know the real meaning of prayer, Otherwise, it becomes blind faith, Tibetan people really like to say prayers. You go to monastery, and we have lots of sort of symbol or represent, like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. We have statues. We have Buddhist text, tankas. So you go there and you just first you prostrate 3 times, and then you sit down, and then you say prayer. I mean, it's good, I think it's very wonderful, but if you don't know the meaning of the prayer, and if you don't have sort of good intention, then the prayer, according to Buddha says, a prayer is nothing. It can't change your mind. It's the same thing here. You go to church every Sunday and you say prayers. If you understand meaning, the prayer, and then you bring that, your understanding, into your practice meditation, then it will be really meaningful and very beneficial. You go to church and you sit down or you meditate. Actually, there are outer prayers, inner prayers, right? Outer prayer, these words you just say, but actually it's a person that reminds you the inner prayer, which means like you sit down and it doesn't matter you recite the prayer or not, you sit down and you meditate. That's inner prayer. So it's so important to understand the meaning of the prayer. That's why we're going to teach. I'm sure many of you already know this prayer. It's very famous. It's already in English. Many different ways to translate in English. And I'm sure you already recite this prayer, but I'm sure still you have a hesitation, or maybe you don't know some words, what it's meaning, or maybe some words very strange to you. So that means, you have to study. That's why we say first you hear, you learn it, then you contemplate, and then you bring that in your practice meditation. So 3 wisdom you have to develop. It's so important, So, for example, in this prayer says, through the prayer of Samantabhadra, may all realize perfect enlightenment in the expenses of Dharmadat. You have that prayer, right? I'm going to explain the prayer not word by word, but probably line by line. Otherwise, we can't really, So you have to look your prayer, the root text, and if you don't know, even though I explain the meaning of the lines, if you don't know, you can ask me. So that is actually through the prayer of Samantabhadra, may all realize perfect enlightenment, Dharmadat. This is the whole idea. It means, may I able to realize the Dzogchen teaching, the great perfection, just as the ancient great masters and Buddhas did. And then may I be able to help bring sort of recognition of the nature of the mind and the Dzogchen teachings to all sentient beings, so that each can sort of attain Buddhahood, liberation, enlightenment. So this should be our prayers, our motivation, our intention, our wish, our goal. So therefore, whether we chant this prayer sort of verbally or not, we must sort of maintain this aspiration sort of deep down in our mind, and we need sort of good thoughts, good intention, good motivation. Do you understand? In order to practice. Not only this prayer, but whenever, I think the motivation is everything, according to Buddhism. As ordinary people like us, not always we have a good motivation because ego can. But we have to correct, right? Naturally, sort of the motivation is not pure, our motivation, but we can correct. We can, through our, listen, teaching, and understand, and then we can correct our motivation. So, really, we need good thoughts, whatever you do. If we don't make this kind of intention, then what will be the result? Even though we say this prayer, but we will continue to be sort of deluded and sort of overcome by our emotions. And if we don't make change anything about our mind, our emotion, it will go on in this sort of world, samsara. What is for the prayer? You go. What is first? I think it's very important. Investigate our mind. Why you say these prayers? That's the key point. Did Samantabhadra pray this Dzogchen prayer for him or for others? So in order to sort of make aspiration, we need also sort of, clear understanding and sort of joyful effort, commitment, courage, We have to work sort of constantly and bring this power for intention until, we reach the goal. So this prayer, aspiration prayer, comes from Dzogchen, the Tantra, the teaching. So it comes from the, we call the primordial Buddha of Dzogchen lineage, known as Samantabhadra. First, right? Whenever you see we have a refuge tree, whenever you see the masters, the lineage, Samantabhadra is the top, right? So primordial Buddha, we call it. It's Samantabhadra or Kuntuzangpo. That's Samantabhadra is Sanskrit term. Kuntuzangpo is in Tibet. Same thing. Kuntuzangpo or Samantabhadra. Kunda actually means like all, everything, all. Kunda means. Zangpo means excellent or great, So those two words combined, what that means, all or everything is excellent. All are excellent. What excellent? What all? According to this teaching, the foundation, the path, the ye in Tibet, ye means like the ground, the foundation is excellent. And then lam in Tibet means path. The path is excellent. And then jiva means the result. Result is excellent. All teachings, sutras, tantras, Mahayana, Hinayana, Dzogchen, whatever, we have three things. Ye, lam, ji means foundation, the ground, the base ground, path, and result. That's all, everything. So this Kuntuzangpo means actually everything is excellent because of the path, the foundation, the result. Because why this is excellent? Because this is our true nature, not something, we're not talking something different than us. We're talking about our true nature, so which means the original nature of our Rigpa awareness is excellent, which is because nature. It is nature. And that's what we call the Dharmakaya, our true nature. We call it Dharmakaya. Right? As you recite the prayer of Samantabhadra or Kuntuzangpo, don't think that Samantabhadra is outside somewhere. He is the Buddha. He is the primordial Buddha of Dharmakaya, enlightenment being, enlightened being. So this is actually never separate from our true nature. It's always with us. Everything excellent, this thing, always with us. But we don't see it, right? We don't see it because we have so many sort of layers of discursive thought, and emotions. Therefore, we look out from only one point of view. Looking from one side all the time is beginning of samsara, is beginning of duality. And this attitude sort of distance us from the panoramic view of the Dharmakaya or the true nature of our mind. So therefore, people, all sentient beings in samsara, by ignorance. Why? Because of the ego climbing. So therefore, we need somebody's help to teach and understanding that and pointing out that we have this excellence. So therefore, we have Sambhogakaya, the Buddha, and we have Nirmanakaya Buddha, right? Eminent to guide and help us. And these two Buddha forms are eminent of Dharmakaya. But Sambhogakaya Buddha eminent for being of very sort of high realization. And Sambhogakaya Buddhas don't appear to beginning sort of practitioners, but to bodhisattvas, those who have a clear recognition of true nature and clear understanding. With this level of realization, the Sambhogakaya Buddhas and these bodhisattvas, they perceive the Sambhogakaya Buddhas easily and they appear, not for us. But for us, those who without realization still have sort of solid sort of conception of duality, like many of us. For that, we have Nirmanakaya Buddha. And Nirmanakaya Buddha appears because to guide us. So we have three kayas. In order to understand this prayer a little bit, three kayas very profound. Buddhist philosophy, it's difficult. But, actually make things easy, like Dharmakaya is actually the primordial Buddha, which is the nature mind. Sambhogakaya Buddha, Nirmanakaya Buddha emanation from this Dharmakaya. So, for example, Dharmakaya is like a sky, is like a blue, is like open, So blue sky open, that's Dharmakaya, for example. And then for the Sambhogakaya Buddha is like moon, nice moon or sun arising above the cloud. If there are clouds in the sky, we will not be able to see this beautiful moon, right? But if the sky is free from clouds, as the mind of the highly sort of realized being is free from delusion, we will see the beauty of the moon, because there is nothing obscured, And then Nirmanakaya is emanation from the Sambhogakaya as being like the moon's reflection is in a water, So when you look into the water, you can see the moon reflecting in the water. And only, only one moon reflecting into the water, countless, right? If the water is available. Likewise, the Nirmanakaya emanations are countless. If there are, fortunate disciples available. Buddha said that the moon is the sky can reflect anywhere under the right conditions. Whether, for example, the water is in a, what do you call a wood bowl or silver or gold, or doesn't matter, river, ocean, lake, it may reflect the moon. The moons reflecting in different sorts of bowls and bodies of water. Easy, right? We know that. It's like that. For example, if the water is very clear, the moon's reflection will be perfect and clear. If the water is not clear, it's like water is muddy, and then the moon reflection that will be unclear. And if there's no water, then there's no reflection of the moon. That's that same thing, like, each person have a bowl of water, and the moon can reflect into your water. So one moon can reflect countless. You understand that? So that's why some of the Buddha will explain and say that, emanations of Samantabhadra, countless. But it depends the right conditions. If we have no connection, then there is no reflection of moons. So when the moon's reflection appears in different ways, it has nothing actually to do with the sort of limitations of the moon. Instead, the moon's image is formed in accordance with the potential, the conditions and circumstance of reflection. In the same way, Buddhas appear according to the situation. That's why devotion, respect, and understanding the meaning of the prayer, these are so important. If you have no these qualities, this cause and conditions, then there is no reflection of the moon. So anyway, that's this kind of in general. What is prayer? What is prayer? What is meaning of prayer? Intention, yes. Prayer, is attention, a motivation. You have to remember that. You go to monastery, you go to centers, and then you say some prayer, means you have to remember your motivation. That's all. So now the prayer begins with ho, right? Ho. Ho is sort of an expression of non-dual speech. In Tibetan, we call it speechless speech. Kind of contradiction, right? Contradict. Speechless speech. Jodmit Jodpa in Tibet. So ho is also sort of expression of surprise, because, so, usually in here, like both, the expression of non-dual ultimate joy. Because joy is very important in Vajrayana and Mahayana tradition. Buddha said that when we receive and when we practice the teachings, we must have joy, respect, and devotion in order to actualize our realizations. Without these sort of qualities, we will not feel motivated, So ho, this syllable actually also comes from the same root as ema ho. You see this, in Tibet, lots of these tohas and sangs, from great masters, they ema ho or ho. So they all sort of express this basic sort of sense of the wonderfulness of sort of certain experiences, such as when you experience joy, or when you experience your nature mind. So therefore, these kind of syllables, these words are said by yogis, to express this sense of, appreciating and sort of, the wonderfulness. So here, we have the first word is ho, means like surprise. Oh, like, wow, all that appear and exist has a one ground nature. Wow, really surprise. So this, that's the meaning of ho. So, and then, it comes the discussion of the ground. So we have all that, see your book, all that appears and exists, all of samsara and nirvana has one ground, two paths and two results. So we begin with the aspiration of the basic purity of samsara and liberation. It is the sort of aspiration to realize the basic state of samsara and liberation as being one sort of genuine nature. So in this, the prayer says, appears, all that appears, means actually the container that our samsaric existence. And in Tibetan, nang means like all this appearance, except like all beings. The nang means all like, this container, all whole world, And it refers to our also group experience of shared karma, which is the sort of common, we say common experience of different people, you know. For example, you see this is a book. I see this is a book. So this is we call common experience to all of us, which means we accumulated same sort of karmic, what do you call it, experience or seed. Then we see, you see this all, you know, this is space. And I see this is a space. So we hear this is common experience. That's why this means appear, all that appear same for human beings. Like you see this Minneapolis, you see there are lots of buildings, exactly same. Why? We shared this common experience, sort of common karmas for different people. And then after that, exists. These two words are so important. Exist refers to the contained beings in the different realms, such as like human realms, animal realms, you know, all that, you know. So Nang Zit means everything in Tibet, everything included. All that fundamental or basic experience is what we call appear and exist. So that is whole world, everything, you know. The container, the content include all experience of samsara, include all experience of liberation, the nirvana, everything, none appears and exists, everything. So basically, samsara is experiencing all phenomena, all appearance through ego cleaning. Samsara is nothing more than that. Nirvana or liberation is experience of basic nature of mind, which has quality of freedom and sort of spaciousness, as well as experience of basic goodness, that the nature of mind. Nothing other than that, liberation. Therefore, Samantabhadra says that all of samsara and nirvana have one common ground, or one basic from which everything arises. One basic ground or foundation. Okay? From that one ground, branches go in two different directions. And there are two paths lead to two different results of samsara and nirvana. Okay? Yichik lam ni ni. Yichik means one nature, one foundation. Everything. Lam ni, two paths. Therefore, two results. That's very important to, I think, understand. The fundamental base of the ground is the basic shunyata, we call it. Yichik means basic sort of shunyata, which is the primordial great emptiness. That's why we call it one ground. So that is primordial great emptiness. Who has that base? Who has that ground? You have. I have. We all have. We all have that. We all living beings have that, the ground. All living beings, doesn't matter, human, animal, who has a consciousness, we all have that primordial great emptiness. All beings have the same nature. That's why Samantabhadra is kind of try to say that. All living beings has same nature. Sometimes we call the Buddha nature. But two parts, right? Two parts, because as we know, the path to samsara begins with ignorance and continues on the 12 links of interdependent origination. That's how we wander into samsara. One path. And then the second path and the path to the liberation, nirvana, begins with wisdom and self-arising, self sort of liberation, which leads to fruition of enlightenment. That's the result of freedom from samsara. So two paths, two results. Now, in prayer, why we have two paths to resolve? Now the prayer says, a miracle of knowing and not knowing. Okay, that is why. Knowing and not knowing. That's why we have two paths and two results. What knowing, what is not knowing? That primordial great emptiness, or Samantabhadra. If you know the Samantabhadra, the basic nature, then nirvana. Not knowing that, then samsara. So that's why he's saying, knowing and not knowing. So also Samantabhadra, that's why through the prayer of Samantabhadra, may all realize the perfect enlightenment and the expense of the Dharma. That's the intention. That's the motivation. It makes sense because we all share the Buddha nature. We have potential. So each of us have responsibility to attain the Buddhahood. Because you have ground the primordial great emptiness, Buddha nature, and if you understand that and meditate, then results liberation. So perfect enlightenment, we call Dharmadat. So this means like, for example, like electric switch. If you turn it off, what happens? Then you have darkness. Nothing you can see, which is ignorance, If you turn it on, then you have this, luminosity, the recognition. So that's why Samantabhadra tells us this knowing and not knowing. With recognition, you get, they call Rigdzin Gödem Ngödrup. Chomter in Tibet means like magical illusion. If you know in this ground, magical illusion of nirvana. Without recognition, you get this magical illusion of samsara. Riktang marik chomter. Chomter. Rik means knowing, recognize. Marik in Tibet means not knowing. You don't recognize. So it means knowing and not knowing. That's why we have two paths and two results. So the method of this practice is, without sort of dividing phenomena into subject and object, or that or this, you see the entire universe, this world, as a state of great emptiness because of the foundation. Your mind, your body, entire this universe merge into the state of great emptiness with the recognition, arising sort of energy of great true nature. Okay, so we recite this prayer from our basic nature of mind. That's what we call the Buddha nature. So, by the power of that purity, that dharmata, which is the essence of our nature, and dharmadat, here says, right, in the expense of the dharmadat, nature of phenomena. Because the wisdom of dharmakaya, the true nature, the Samantabhadra, realizes the nature of dharmadat. Dharmadat is like the space of shunyata, the great emptiness, which is realized by the dharmakaya wisdom, which is the enlightenment, which is the dharmadat, liberation. So now we know that two paths to result, but one ground, right? What is one ground? And also, second question is that if we have realization of this ground, how will we become enlightened? And if we don't recognize the ground, how are we deluded? So that is explained in this next the section of the prayer. So it says, the ground of all is uncompounded, a self-arising, infinite, inconceivable expense, having neither the name samsara nor nirvana. So here explained about the qualities of the ground or the true nature. So you see here, there are 5 different qualities. Actually, now what is ground? One path, no, one foundation, one ground. What is the ground? Now we need to understand that, right? This is very important to understand. So for example, the first quality of the ground is uncompounded. And then second quality is self-arising. Third quality is very sort of spacious and empty or infinite. The fourth quality is inconceivable. And fifth is beyond levels of samsara and nirvana. So this ground is our awareness, our true nature, our mind, right? So for example, the first quality, uncompounded. From the Dzogchen point of view, the ground nature of all samsara and nirvana is uncomposed. Why? Because, when we look deeply into the true nature of our mind, we find that it is uncompounded because it has not been sort of produced by any cause or any conditions. And Dzogchen, according to the teachings, it is known as Kadak in Tibet. Ka means primordial, and Tak is purity. So it means pure from the beginning. This ground nature, which is pure nature, it is called the great emptiness, right? You hear this so many times in Mahayana teachings, great emptiness. In Dzogchen teaching, we don't use words emptiness, but we use kadak, which means like primordial purity. And then also we have the Dzogchen teaching, we also say another is Hlundrup, which means spontaneously arising. So that is the nature of everything. Primordial sort of purity and spontaneously arising. That shows that this nature is without cause and conditions. That's why it's uncompounded. So these two qualities are the ground of both samsara and nirvana. So ground has two wisdoms, right? The first, it has sort of primordial purity, and that is the ground of primordial nature and the fundamental base of our mind. So it is kadak. Remember that. And the second wisdom is we call the Hlundrup, which is the spontaneously arising. So these two wisdoms are the nature of our ground, which is uncompounded or inexpressible, because they are beyond words. But all the words we use for these two wisdoms are just methods to reach there. But the actual state of these two quality, the wisdom or the ground, is beyond speech. That's why we call it speechless speech. It is speechless, but speech because it gives us sort of idea of or method to recognize or to reach there. That's why kind of speech. But actually can't. This is amazing quality, so therefore you can't explain exactly through the words because it is beyond the words. Can you explain me, for example, I have never ever experienced or never have like sweet, I never ate sweet. And can you explain me exactly? Can you? What is the characteristic of this? If I don't never have this, can you explain me exactly? That I understand completely? I don't think so. You tried so many ways to explain. Maybe I will understand a little bit the character of this. That's the same thing. The masters, they explain these two wisdoms, this ground, through their experience, use the words and lots of methods pointing out this true nature, but it's difficult because speechless speech, because no cause and conditions, beyond everything. But that's why if you practice preliminaries and you have good foundation, you have respect your Samantabhadra, true nature, you have devotion yourself, Samantabhadra, true nature, then it is possible to recognize completely. But otherwise, just, the methods, these words, actually, this prayer, the outer prayer is just, methods to reach there. Okay? So these two wisdoms are something really to be realized, not just to explain. The true nature of mind is never changes under any circumstance or any situation. That's also will explain this book, this prayer. So therefore, it is beyond the cause and conditions. If beyond the cause and conditions, then that means it beyond permanent and impermanent. So it is free from cause and conditions. And therefore it is free from, also they said, 3 times, past, present, and future, right? These 3 times has nothing to do with nature of our mind. Because the 3 times actually important in our life, right? Past, present, future. Without time, we can't have anything. But this ground, one nature, has nothing to do with these times, because the times only concepts made by duality thinking. You understand? Because when you investigate 3 times, actually you can't find. They are just relatively, they depend each other. If there's no past times, how will you say present? If there's no future, how will you say past? They just depends each other. That shows there's nothing really exists. Just our concepts, duality thinking. So that's why this ground is nothing to do with 3 times, beyond times, beyond cause and condition. You have to know that beyond permanent, impermanent, beyond extremes, everything. So that is the first quality, okay, of the ground or nature, which is uncompounded. Do you understand? First quality, second quality, I will explain next time. So now meditation, okay? Okay, we have 15 minutes. Oh, no, we have, okay. No time. No time. Beyond time. So, let's say, for a few minutes, meditate for a few minutes, so I would like to give you a practice that really can help you understand your true sort of ground, the nature. So, for example, we have the Samantabhadra's picture. You can visualize Samantabhadra or your spiritual being in front of you, which is represent your liberation, represent the symbol, like, the ground, the nature, your protection, whatever you say, your nature of mind, whatever. You just visualize that in front of you, and then open your heart completely and imagine sort of beautiful rays of light come from this being, holy being, this enlightened being, and their light sort of come from them, which is represent your spiritual beings, blessings, kind of, or the compassion, the love and compassion, and then the lights dissolve into your heart, then transform all your emotions into the relaxation, into the wonderfulness, into the peacefulness, into the primordial emptiness. And then at the end, let your spiritual being dissolve into light and then come to you, and then you really sort of look deeply into the one path, one ground, the nature. Recognize that their nature sort of luminous within your sort of non-conceptual experience, and then you can look so directly at that experience and sort of its essence as much as you can. That's that's the meditation. Okay? Okay, 3 minutes.